Hello and welcome to the Havoline 300, the first road course race of the year at Infineon. I'm going to give you a quick rundown of the starting lineup in the front row. It's the Penske cars, Ryan Newman and Rusty Wallace. In row 2, it's Kevin Harvick and Tony Stewart. Row 3, it's Steve Park and Bobby Labonte. Row 4 is Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Jeff Gordon. Row 5, Bill Elliott and Mark Martin. Row 6, Sterling Marlin and Michael Waltrip. Row 7, Dale Jarrett and John Andretti. Row 8, Dale Earnhardt and Jeff Burton. And row 9 is Robert Presley. We'll be back for the start of the race. Here we go for the start of the Havoline 300, and Tony Stewart has a problem. Right off from the start, Tony Stewart in the middle of the pack. Green flag, and here we go. Harvick already going for the lead, and Newman gets forced into the grass. Very hectic start, and this allows Wallace to get a little bit of an edge over everyone. Heavy bunched up start right off the beginning of the race. Wallace takes off with the lead though, and as we've all seen so far this year, if Wallace manages to get the lead, it's a bad thing for everybody else. But nonetheless, wild start to begin this thing, and Wallace just takes off with a huge lead. As they continue to race side by side, Labonte beside Newman as they go through the S's. And Wallace now getting out to an insanely large lead. This could easily end up being his 4th win this year, and that will definitely be bad for those who are trying to catch him, especially Dale Earnhardt, who are trying to catch him in the points. Wallace is going to lead the first of 7 laps. Since Wallace is clearly going to be dominating this race, let's take a look at the battles that are going on behind him. There you see the rookie Harvick managing to get past Labonte and is the first to get clear of that mess back there, and is the first to begin trying to pursue and run down Rusty Wallace. But can anybody do it at this point with Wallace's huge lead like that? We'll see. Earnhardt, last week's winner at Talladega, is not doing very well. But road courses were never his, how do you say, fancy. Never his specialty. There's the word I was thinking for. Now Harvick may be different here, but at this point I just don't see how anybody could run down Wallace. Even with the long 6 laps that we've got to run this race, Harvick is going to have to get some good luck and some hard charging skills to be able to catch Wallace at this point. The field mostly strung out now. Labonte, Newman, Gordon, Martin. Side-by-side battle still between Stewart, who had problems on the start, and Steve Park. Park looks like he's going to manage to get around him. As now Elliott gets into this battle. And you see Earnhardt Jr., Jeff Burton, Michael Waltrip, John Andretti, Dale Jarrett, Dale Earnhardt, Sterling Marlin, and Robert Presley, still basically the same as when the race started. Here you see Harvick, who is trying his best to run down the leader Wallace, and has actually managed to cut his lead somewhat. But can he cut his lead enough to catch him? That is the serious question being asked here today. He definitely seems to be getting closer to him going through the hairpin turn. And just coming off of that turn, he manages to bite at least a sizable chunk out. But is he going to have enough time to catch him? I can definitely tell he is catching him, but can he actually catch him? And even if he does, passing him is a whole other matter. Harvick gaining considerable amount of time on that turn. Harvick clearly getting through the turns better than Wallace. And now he's almost on his bumper. This may remind you folks of the epic battle held when this track was still called Sears Point and still had the chicane right about where they are now, where there was actually an extra turn going down into the infield of the track, what is now the infield of the track, between Dale Earnhardt and Mark Martin. With 9 laps to go in the race, Earnhardt managed to run down Martin with 2 laps to go after Martin got loose in some oil in turn 6, and Earnhardt passed him. Meanwhile, Harvick has caught Wallace, and now he begins the same dance that Earnhardt had in 1995. Once again, Harvick shows superior turning. Clearly, his Goodwrench Chevrolet is handling far better than Wallace's Miller Lite Ford, as he has caught Wallace so easily. 4 laps have been completed. 3 to go. Which in any other track would be over very quickly, but here, not necessarily the case, and Wallace managed to get some distance there. The field very strung out now, and Wallace now beginning to re-establish some distance between him and Harvick, but Harvick always manages to cut it down near the start-finish line, usually around turns 10, 11, and then 1 and 2. Especially 1 and 2. He gets up that hill far better than Wallace, and here he comes right onto the bumper of Wallace. Could we see him make a move here? We will. He's going for the lead. Almost tapped into Wallace's bumper, and that caused him to slow down ever so slightly. Wallace is going to keep the lead here. But he made a run for it. Wallace trying to put some distance between him and Harvick. This kid is definitely putting him on the spot. But this is where Wallace has managed to just gain an advantage on Harvick, but Harvick has been getting through the turns slightly better than Wallace. Harvick is going to have one more shot after this. Here he goes, once again on the bumper of Wallace. Is he going to make another move for the lead, and is he going to be able to get the lead? He's trying to make an attempt. This time he stays with it. Harvick to the inside. Can he hold the advantage? Didn't quite get off that turn like he wanted to. Had to slow down a little too much, and Wallace manages to jump back out ahead. Just to be clear, folks, it is the last lap, and this is the place where Harvick has one last shot coming up. Stays with Wallace well through the S's. Here we go. He might have a shot here. He goes for it. Harvick to the inside of Wallace, going through the hairpin turn. He's going to get the lead coming off, but Wallace comes back. Could we have our first photo finish this year, folks? Here they come off. It's going to be a close one. It's going to be Wallace. Just barely over Harvick. Wallace wins. Quick out on Mr. Sir 1995. Couldn't quite get the quick outro, but our first photo finish. An exciting race down to the end, but Wallace gets his 4th win. I'm Mr. Sir 1995. We'll see you next week at Dover. Signing off.